Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the FSU West Central Concert Band's 17th Annual Veterans Day Concert. I'm Donna Smith. Our concert this evening is in honor of our community veterans who have dutifully served our country throughout the 243 years of our nation's history. The FSU West Central Concert Band is under the direction of Dr. Scott Cohen, and today we are delighted to feature the following guests. We'll have speakers Linda Beulah, Mike Miller, Mike O'Connor, and Anna Ramirez Saenz. Bagpiper Steve Winiger, taps trumpeter Randy Akkerhuis, and guest conductor FSU President David Eisler. And we're also proud to feature in our program this year both the FSU chapter of Student Veterans of America, which will be performing the honored guest ceremony in memory of our MIAs and POWs, and the Old Jail Quilters of Big Rapids, and the Quilts of Valor Foundation, which will be making a very special presentation today. There will also be a special multimedia presentation of Jim Samuel's one-man, one-act play, Objects in the Mirror Are Closer Than They Appear. And we're also pleased to welcome representatives from the Mid-Michigan Honor Flight, the Veteran Helping Veteran Organization, the Quilts of Valor Foundation, and the Ferris Kappa Kappa Psi band fraternity, all of which today are exhibiting in the lobby. The visual images shown on the screen above the band throughout the concert have been compiled by FSU media specialist and WCCB trumpeter Jeff Gabalis. And now we are pleased to introduce the Big Rapids American Legion Post 98 Honor Guard. Will you please rise for the presentation of the colors?
And salute!
And so now we invite you to please remain standing and join our FSU West Central Concert Band in the singing of our national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner. We're going to do the pledge first? My mistake, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance with the Honor Guard.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now will you please join us in the Star Spangled Banner. And thank you, everyone. You may be seated. And our thanks to the Big Rapids American Legion Post 98 Honor Guard for our opening ceremonies. Let's thank them, please. And now it's my pleasure to introduce to you Donna Saenz. Ms. Ramirez Saenz is Vice Chair of the Ferris State University Board of Trustees, and she's the first Board of Trustee ever to address our Veterans Day concert audience. The Board of Trustees is the general supervising body of the university with oversight for fiscal responsibility, policy and strategy, and ensuring academic excellence. A resident of Caledonia, Anna was appointed to the board by Governor Snyder in 2014, and she is serving a term through the end of 2022. She's the founder and CEO of La Fuente Consulting, LLC, a diversity and inclusion consulting agency established in 2000 with clients in over 15 states. She also serves on the board of the Grand Rapids Community Foundation and on other nonprofit boards and committees, both locally and regionally. She earned a bachelor's degree in Spanish literature and linguistics from the University of Michigan and an MBA in finance from the University of Michigan's Ross Graduate School of Business. Will you please join me in welcoming Donna Saenz. Donna.
Hola, muy buenas tardes. Mis amigos, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this momentous occasion. Donna, thank you for that kind introduction. Today is a very special day as we are gathered here at Ferris State University to honor you, our veterans, and pay tribute to those who have fallen yet not forgotten. It is a day where we come together as a Ferris family to celebrate you, your courage, your sacrifice, and your dedication in service. On behalf of the board chair, Anna Sable, Secretary Rupesh Sarastava, Trustees Lori Wisdana, Bob Hedlund, LaShonda Thomas, Kirk Hoffman, Carrie Cedarberg, and President Eisler, the administration, and all the faculty and students, I welcome you to the 17th Annual Veterans Day Concert Celebration. We are delighted that you have joined us. With the veterans seated, all rise and let us recognize them for their service, please. Thank you. It is a sincere honor and a privilege to welcome you all here, and thank you, President Eisler and Dr. Cohen, for this kind and truly kind invitation to be the first trustee to address you. Absolutely no pressure, right? Not only do we celebrate this momentous occasion today, we are also celebrating throughout this year the 135th anniversary of the founding of Ferris State University by Woodridge and Helen Gillespie Ferris in 1984. While you are here, take a look at all the events taking place on campus and elsewhere. I'd like to extend my sincerest thanks to Dr. Cohen, Chair of the Department of Humanities in the College of Arts and Sciences, Director of Instrumental Concert Ensemble, and Donna Smith, and all the members of the program committee, color guard, instrumentalists, presenters, and all those who have made this event possible. Thank you very much. When I was nominated and then appointed by Governor Snyder to serve on the Ferris board, I must be honest, I did not know much about Ferris University. I knew it was in Big Rapids. I would see the signs and billboards advertising Ferris State University as we made our way north on 131 to our farm in Cadillac, Michigan throughout the years. In my briefing with Governor Snyder's office, I was asked to consider serving, given an overview of the university, and asked to think about it and give back to them in a few days. Naturally, being who I am, having all information before deciding was important. I went to do my research on the school with a bulldog as its mascot. I wasn't sure how bulldogs and wolverines were going to get along, but that's another story. As I read about Ferris, a couple of things stood out right away. First, Mr. and Mrs. Ferris' dedication to education. Mr. Ferris was an educator. Second, they welcomed, encouraged, and gave an opportunity to all students from every economic level, background, and walks of life. Think of it. Women in 1884 were made part of the first graduating class. I really liked that. The most important and salient part of the research was their vision and goals for the university, providing students with long life learning, growth, and the marketable skills. Think about that. The marketable skills needed for a changing society. Today, President Eisler, the administration, the excellent faculty have never wavered from these goals. It is as true today as it was back in 1884. After reading the history of this great university, I was sold. And the icing on the cake was that I was going to be racially compensated for an 8-year term with an annual salary and bonus of 0. I gladly accepted. As I met other trustees, President Eisler, the administration, and faculty, I knew that I had made the right decision. I have come to love this university, and yes, I continue to richly be compensated by being part of this team that is dedicated to moving Ferris forward with excellence. I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to encourage all students, especially you, middle school, high school students, to continue your education, work hard, study hard, and take a good look at Ferris. Come and visit the campus. Talk to our great faculty and students. You will be inspired. And to my favorite Ferris Jr., my niece, who is one of 4 women in the construction management program. Stay strong, and it'll be sweet when you wear your construction hat at graduation next year. You heard a little bit about me in the introduction, but I want to tell you a little bit about who I am and why every chance I get, particularly at airports, I stop many servicemen and women to say thank you for their service. Some people give me the look. Others are surprised, but most are thankful. I just keep on doing it, and here's why. In 1960, a young woman, 23 years old, headed from Tampico, Mexico to Laredo, Mexico, and then Laredo, Texas, where she had family. She was seeking a better life for her and for her children. With only a 6th grade education, 3 small children in tow, she faced an unknown future. One thing was very clear and in focus. She was going to do everything she could to provide for them, give them an education and a future. Armed with a heart full of love, unwavering determination, and a will of steel to succeed, she faced it head on. With the help of my dear Juan and dear Lucy, who we are deeply grateful forever and who we love very much, they were responsible for sponsoring us for our residency in 1964. It would be one of the proudest moments for my mom in her life. And in 1968, we came to Holland, Michigan, and the rest is history. A little bit more about my family, my extended family, and in a way, your family. Samuel Gonzalez Saenz, brother-in-law. SPC E4, Fort Bliss, El Paso, Texas, United States Army, 1953 to 1955. Ronald S. Vanderlaan, sisters, father-in-law, YN3, U.S. Navy, U.S. Nimitz, 1956 to 1960. Consuelo Garcia Bond, my cousin, Private First Class, Marine Corps, Recruit Depot, United States Marine Corps, San Diego, California, 1973 to 1974. Her husband, Kenneth Bond, Sergeant, United States Marine Corps, San Diego, Okinawa, Japan, Quantico, Virginia, 1973 to 1977. Yolanda Garcia Lopez, my cousin, Sergeant First Class, E7, United States Army, 1979 to 1999, combat veteran, 2 tours, Desert Storm. Carlos Lopez Garcia, her son, Captain, combat veteran, United States Army, currently serving in Portland, Oregon. Matthew Carl Mateo Ramirez, my nephew, Lieutenant Commander, fighter pilot, U.S. Navy, active duty 2007-2018, second, 2 combat tours aboard the USS Eisenhower in support of Operation Enduring Freedom, Afghanistan. Flight instructor at the Naval Air Station, Whiting Field, Florida, from 2014-2018. As you can see, we are part of the same family and united in many ways. Growing up, my mom's example instilled in me, deep within me, a relentless work ethic, an unwavering faith, and service with humility. I gladly serve where I can as a sign of my sincere gratitude for what you, our veterans, and this great country of ours has given all of us today. In closing, we honor you, our veterans. We celebrate you. We are so infinitely grateful for your leadership, your commitment, service, and sacrifice. Please accept mine and our sincere gratitude. Enjoy this beautiful concert that has been so thoughtfully prepared for you. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much.
And we thank you, Anna. And now for our first musical selection today in honor of our veterans, the legend of Wilson's Creek. Wilson's Creek is the site of one of the early battles of the Civil War. The creek is located near Springfield, Missouri, and is thought to have been the first major battle west of the Mississippi River. This original work was composed by David Gorham, who has received numerous commissions and published over 50 pieces of music for band. The music begins with a quiet opening, which gradually develops and evolves into an exciting, energetic, fast section. The music is based on the traditional tune, "Johnny Has Gone for a Soldier," which is a woman's lament for her man that is going off to war. Now, this was a popular song in both the Revolutionary and the Civil Wars. Our performance today honors our veterans from back then, as well as our newest generation of veterans since the composition of the piece in 2006. And so now, here is Richard Scott Cohen with the legend of Wilson's Creek. Next, it is my pleasure to introduce Captain Mike Miller to give this year's Veterans Address. Captain Miller earned undergraduate degrees in automotive service and education here at Ferris and a master's degree in public administration from CMU. In his civilian capacity, Mr. Miller is employed by the Costa Osceola Intermediate School District as its Career and Technical Education Director and its Career Center Principal. He and his wife, Megan, and their 2 children have resided in Big Rapids since 2001. Captain Miller has combined 20 years of service in the reserve and active components of the United States Army. He attained the rank of Staff Sergeant as an enlisted man, and then he rose to the rank of Chief Warrant Officer 2 prior to receiving a direct commission in 2012. He served for 9 months as battle captain at Camp Resolute Support, that's the NATO headquarters in Kabul, Afghanistan. Captain Miller's current assignment is logistics officer with the U.S. Army Reserve Sustainment Command at the Detroit Arsenal in Warren, Michigan. Now, among Captain Miller's decorations are the German Armed Forces Badge for Military Proficiency, the Good Conduct Medal, 3 Army Achievement Medals, and 5 Army Condemnation Medals. Will you please join me now in welcoming Captain Mike Miller. Captain Miller.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Mr. Ramirez, Dr. Eisler, fellow veterans, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and thank you for attending today's concert. As I heard Dr. Smith talking about the different ranks I've held, it just reminds me that I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I took kind of an unconventional route to captain, but it's been a great journey. Thank you, Dr. Cohen, for inviting me to speak today and help honor our community's veterans. I'd also like to thank the American Legion Post 98 Honor Guard and the FSU West Central Concert Band. Please join me in another round of applause, showing them our gratitude. Also to my Marine Corps brothers and sisters, happy birthday. As most of us know, what began as a commemoration of the end of what was then simply referred to as the Great War, November 11th has evolved into a time-honored tradition where we as a nation, a grateful nation, venerate our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen for their extraordinary service. At the 11th hour on the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918, an armistice or truce went into effect, ending hostilities between the Allies and the Central Powers. While the official end of the war would not take place until 7 months later at the Treaty of Versailles, November 11th, 1918 is generally regarded as the end of World War I. Although Armistice Day was observed annually, it wasn't until 1938 that Congress officially instituted Armistice Day as a national holiday. In 1954, President Eisenhower signed legislation redesignating November 11th as Veterans Day to honor American veterans of all wars. Beyond the significant dates, proclamations, and resolutions that history records, my hope today is to convey to you a deeper meaning behind Veterans Day. Part of this deeper meaning can be illustrated by examining the 7 core Army values. These values, loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage, promote a high level of professionalism within the Army. First, loyalty. Bear true faith and allegiance to the U.S. Constitution, the Army, your unit, and other soldiers. Bearing true faith and allegiance is a matter of believing in and devoting yourself to something or someone. Duty. Fulfill your obligations. Performing your duty means more than carrying out your assigned tasks. It requires one to resist the temptation to take shortcuts that might undermine the integrity of the final product. Respect. Treat people as they should be treated. In the Soldier's Code, we pledge to treat others with dignity and respect while expecting others to do the same. Respect is what allows us to appreciate the best in other people while acknowledging and valuing our differences. Selfless service. Put the welfare of the nation, the Army, and your subordinates before your own. The basic building block of selfless service is the commitment of each team member to go a little further, endure a little longer, and take a closer look to see how he or she can add to the effort. Honor. Live up to the Army values. Honor is a matter of carrying out, acting, and living the values of respect, duty, loyalty, selfless service, integrity, and personal courage in everything that you do. Integrity. Do what's right, legally and morally, even when no one is looking. Integrity is a quality you develop by adhering to moral principles. It requires that you do and say nothing that deceives others. Personal courage. Face fear, danger, or adversity, physical or moral. With physical courage, it is a matter of enduring physical duress, and at times risking personal safety. Facing moral fear or adversity may be a long, slow process of continuing forward on the right path, especially if taking those actions is not popular with others. These values are not exclusive to the U.S. Army. They are exuded by my brothers and sisters in the Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. And it is our flag that unites us all and embodies these ideals. The late Senator John McCain's account of what the flag meant to him perhaps best illustrates the bond between service member and country. Quoting the senator, "Let me tell you what I think about our Pledge of Allegiance, our flag, and our country. I want to tell you a story about when I was a prisoner of war. I spent 5.5 years at the Hanoi Hilton. In the early years of our imprisonment, the North Vietnamese kept us in solitary confinement, or 2 or 3 to a cell. One of the men who moved into my cell was Mike Christian. Mike came from a small town from Selma, Alabama. He was shot down and captured in 1967. The Vietnamese allowed some prisoners to receive packages from home. In some of these packages were handkerchiefs, scarves, and other items of clothing. Mike got himself a piece of white cloth and a piece of red cloth and fashioned himself a bamboo needle. Over a period of a couple months, he sewed the American flag on the inside of his shirt. Every afternoon, we would hang Mike's shirt on the wall of our cell and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Now, I know that saying the Pledge of Allegiance may not seem the most important or meaningful part of our day now, but I can assure you that for those men in that stark prison cell, it was indeed the most important and meaningful event of our day. One day, the Vietnamese searched our cell and discovered Mike's shirt with the flag sewn inside and removed it. That evening, they returned, opened the door of the cell, called for Mike Christian to come out, closed the door of the cell, and for the benefit of all of us, beat Mike Christian severely for the next couple of hours. Then they opened the door of the cell and threw him back inside. He was not in good shape. We tried to comfort and take care of him as well as we could. After things quieted down, I went to lie down to go to sleep. As I did, I happened to look in the corner of the room. Sitting there beneath that dim light bulb, with a piece of white cloth, a piece of red cloth, another shirt, and his bamboo needle, was my friend Mike Christian, sitting there with his eyes almost shut from his beating, making another American flag. He was not making that flag because it made Mike Christian feel better. He was making that flag because he knew how important it was for us to be able to pledge our allegiance to our flag and our country." End quote. In just a few weeks, as we sit down to watch the Lions play, hopefully they'll win this year, and enjoy a Thanksgiving feast, let us remember the families who are not able to be together this holiday season, as a loved one is away for training or deployed overseas in harm's way. May God bless our service members, veterans, and their families, and may God bless America. Thank you.
And our special thanks to Captain Miller. Now, next up is actually a short theatrical piece written in honor of veterans. It's entitled, "The Objects in the Mirror Are Closer Than They Appear." The play was written in 2013 by Jim Samuels, who also assembles the photos that will be shown during the performance. Jim is a local attorney who grew up in Big Rapids. He attended Ferris State College prior going to law school. Jim has been involved with school community theater for more than 50 years. Now, about how this play came to be, Jim says, and I quote, "I spent a day in November 2012 talking with the veterans at the Vietnam and Korean memorials on the wall in Washington. A common theme among the former soldiers, especially the Vietnam vets, is that no one is telling their story. I wrote this piece on the plane ride home from Washington in the hopes that at least one story would be told." Now, for today's performance, Jim adds, and I quote, "I wrote this piece for Al Aiken, a Korean War vet, and he masterfully performed it several times. My friend Al passed away a couple of years ago. Now, the photo that you'll see of the old man wearing a World War II hat and sitting in a wheelchair in front of an edifice that says, 'Freedom is not free,' is a photograph of my father, Cliff Samuels, who served in the Navy during World War II. He died last year. I miss both of these people very much. I offer this performance to honor their service to our country." And so now, in special tribute to all of our veterans, we are proud to present Jim Samuels' "Object in the Mirror Are Closer Than They Appear," performed for the first time by Jim Samuels himself.
A friend of mine told me about going to the Vietnam War Memorial on its 25th anniversary. He said it was a very sobering experience. He said that it should be on every vet's bucket list. Well, I didn't think much about it at the time. I served in Korea, not Vietnam, and I had no need to see the names of dead boys etched in the polished granite. It's not that I'm not grateful for their sacrifice. I am. I'm just not drawn to it. A couple of weeks later, I got a call from my old friend Charlie from Omaha. I hadn't talked to Charlie in years. He called to tell me about the sad news of Shorty Johnson passing away. Shorty was our radio man in our unit in Korea. And after the war, he became a very wealthy man selling pickup trucks in Duluth. Anyway, Charlie and I talked for a while, catching up on old times. And then he said to me, "You know, you and I, we should go to the memorial on the mall in Washington." I said, "Oh, they're having a memorial for Shorty on the mall in Washington?" He laughed and said, "No, not that. We should go see the war memorial on the mall in Washington." Well, I told him I had no interest in going to the Vietnam memorial. He said, "I'm talking about the Korean War memorial, you dumb shit." I felt like an idiot. I hadn't been to Washington in over 30 years. I didn't even know there was a Korean War memorial. I told him I'd think about it. He said, "Well, don't think for too long. We're not that far off from ending up like Shorty." I said, "Well, get back to me about details." 2 days later, he calls back and says, "I have 2 rooms and 2 tickets to Alexandria the weekend of Veterans Day." I said, "Veterans Day? That's 7 months away." He said, "Well, you don't have to pack just yet." I said, "Well, what do I owe you for the tickets in the room?" He said, "Well, this one's on me, buddy." I said, "Charlie, you can't do that." He said, "You don't have any say in it. It's already done. Besides, you wouldn't dishonor a gift giver, would you?" I said, "Of course not. Thank you, my friend." Charlie called me a couple of months later to tell me that he had been diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, that it had gone into his liver and his brain. He said, "It looks like I'll be ending up like Shorty sooner than I thought." I said, "No, you and I, we still have to go to that trip to the memorial in the mall." He said, "No, I'm afraid I'm going to have to miss that trip, but I insist that you go for me." I said, "No, I'm not going by myself. This was your idea, and I'm not going without you." He said, "Promise me you'll go no matter what." And then he had this coughing fit. It was excruciating to listen to. When he finally caught his breath, he practically whispered, "Listen, you son of a bitch, I can't go. Now give me your word that you'll go." I did. His funeral was in October. The cold rain kept me from lingering in his grave. But as I drove away from the cemetery, I felt ashamed that I had neglected our friendship all those years. And I felt cheated too, because I was looking forward to that trip. And now he was gone. I dreaded that upcoming trip. The only thing that kept me going was my mantra that a promise is a promise. I said it when I was packing. I said it as I got in the car to go to the airport. I said it as I boarded the plane. I got up early the next morning on Saturday and took the metro to the Washington Monument stop. The American flags that surround the monument were snapping in the breeze. I walked on down past the World War II Memorial, admiring the fountains, then continued on along the reflecting pool up to the Lincoln Memorial, and then I turned towards the Korean War Memorial. There was a statue soldier looking right over his shoulder, right at me. It reminded me of Daryl Hines. Hines was my bunkie at basic training and quickly became my very best friend. The last time I saw him, we were sandbagged into a foxhole overlooking a dreary field in the middle of winter, freezing our asses off. I got up to get a cigarette from the backpack, and he said, "No, I got it." And I was slapped in the face with his warm-blooded brains before I heard the shot. I used to think about that moment every day for years, but I hadn't for 20, maybe even 30 years. I was sobbing. I didn't want to do this at this memorial. I had to get the hell out of there. So I turned to go down the hill as these statue soldiers were marching up towards me. I was stumbling along, tears streaming down my face and snot flowing out of my nose, and finally I stopped and I put my hands over my face and I got out over the hill. Two guys came up on either side of me. One of them put his arm around my shoulder. We walked towards the bench near the Lincoln Memorial. There were a couple of vets sitting there, but they got up when they saw us coming. Three of us, we sat down. One of them handed me a handkerchief. We sat there for the longest time, not saying a word. Finally, I looked up to see who it was that saved me from me. One of the fellows had on a Vietnam vet hat, and the guy looked to be about my age, wearing a ball cap with the Marines written on the bill. I said, "Thanks for your help, fellas. I'm sorry, I just didn't expect that." The Viet vet said, "It's difficult much of the time." I broke the long silence. I used to think about that day every day, but it happened over 50 years ago, and I sobbed, silenced me. The Marine in his Carolina draw said, "The objects in the mirror are closer than they appear." I don't know what the hell he meant by that. I said, "I suppose so." The vet said, "It might help to tell us what happened back there, but you don't have to say a word." I just stared at the ground. Carolina said, "I feel like listening. Do you feel like talking?" I don't know how I started. I don't remember. I sort of fumbled and bumbled with words, but pretty soon the story came pouring out of me. A story about Daryl Hines. My friend, my go-to guy, my buddy. I told him about all the things that we did together. The drinking and the fights and the hangovers and the girls. And then I told him how Daryl's Blood and brains blew into my face. He fell into me. We went down on the ground together, and he was on top of me, a bloody, dead mess. I kept screaming his name over and over again. Finally, I called for a medic. It seemed like forever before they got there, but I'm sure it was just a few minutes. But my buddy, my confidant, my go-to guy, was gone. Those two guys sat there and listened to the old man's story for an hour. One of them reached out and put his hand on my shoulder, and I shook him off and I said, "Honey should be here, not me. That sniper was in it for me, and that stupid son of a bitch stepped in front and took the bullet. He didn't intend to. He just did it. He deserves to be here. He deserves to be here. He deserves to be here." The Viet vet said, "Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm sure there's quite a number of people in your life that are glad that you are here instead of Heinz." I don't know why, but I thought of that character in the movie. He said, every man's life touches so many, and when he's out there, he leaves a mighty big hole, or something like that. Anyway. He said, "Will you walk with us a minute?" I said, "Sure." So we walked on over to the Vietnam War Memorial. There were hundreds of vets there saying, "Thank you for your service," and "Welcome home." I got the first part, but welcome home? Caroline explained to me, these boys weren't welcome home as heroes. They were called traitors and baby killers, remember? I stayed with them for quite a while. Finally, I got up to thank them again, got their contact information, and promised to stay in touch. And then started the solo walk up to the Korean War Memorial, up the path to the top. There was an old man wearing a World War II hat, sitting in a wheelchair in front of an edifice that says, "Freedom is not free." Beside that sitting there is forever seared into my memory. I stayed there quite a while until I got chilled by the wind, and then started heading to a cab stand that was near the memorial. And along the way, a woman in dress blues and white gloves came up to me, and she grabbed my hands and she said, "Thank you, sir, for your service. I am so grateful to you for your service. The country is grateful to you for your service." I didn't know whether it was her sincerity or tone or my blindness at the time. But the tears came. I meant to mumble a thank you and continued on my way. The cab ride took us by a corner of Arlington Cemetery where the white headstones stretched out across the field and disappeared over a hill. More holes, I thought. No, freedom isn't free. It wasn't free for Darrell Hines or his family or his community. It's not free for the men and women who have to leave home to serve, or for their families who are left behind. It's not free for the businesses who have to suffer the soldier's absence, no matter how temporary. And freedom is most certainly not free for the surviving combat veteran who has to relive the horrors of the war, what was seen and what was done. No, freedom is not free at all. I thought of two guys who sat with me during my come apart, about the woman in the dress blues and white gloves, about the vets welcoming each other home to the wall. They all understand that freedom is not free. I know I'll never understand why I lived and Darrell died. I know I'll never get over survival's guilt. But I do know that freedom is not free. The next day, I was heading to my gate at the airport when I saw a soldier in camouflage carrying a huge duffel. I said, "Thank you for your service." She stopped and looked me right in the eye and said, "Thank you for your support." My eyes began to leak as she walked away. I thought, Thank you for your service. Thank you for your support. I know that in the few years that I have left, I shall never miss a chance to say those words to a veteran. So help me God, not ever.
And now, we'd like to thank June for that very moving performance. With our annual rendition of the Armed Forces Salute, we invite all veterans, reservists, active military personnel in our audience today to stand and be recognized for their service to our country when they hear the anthem representing their branch of the service. The anthems will be presented in this order: the Army, the Coast Guard, the Marines, the Air Force, and the Navy. We thank all of our service members, past and present, for your contributions to our nation. We would also like to thank you for being here to share Veterans Day with the FSU West Central Concert Band and with the Greater Ferris State University Big Rapids community. Now, here is our salute to all of you. And now, the Ferris State University Student Veterans Association will conduct a solemn ceremony that pays special recognition to the memory of all American service members of all times and all generations who are missing from our midst as POWs, prisoners of war, and MIAs missing in action. At the end of the ceremony, bagpiper Steve Winiger will pay a musical homage in memory of our missing brethren, and then U.S. veteran Randy Akkerhuis will render taps in memory of our fallen brethren. Student Veterans Association, please begin.
As you entered the auditorium this evening, you may have noticed a small table in a place of honor set for one. This table is our way of symbolizing the fact that members of our profession of arms are missing from our midst. They are commonly called POWs or MIAs. We call them brothers. They are unable to be with us this evening, and so we remember them. This table is set for one is small, symbolizing the frailty of one prisoner alone against his oppressors. Remember. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call of arms. Remember. The single red rose displayed in a vase reminds us of the families and the loved ones of our comrade in arms who keep the faith awaiting their return. Remember. The yellow ribbon, so prominently on the vase, is reminiscent of the yellow ribbon worn upon the lapel and the breasts of thousands who bear witness to their unyielding determination to demand a proper accounting of the missing. Remember. The candle is lit. The candle symbolizing the upward reach of their unconquerable spirit. Remember. A slice of lemon is on the bread plate to remind us of their bitter fate. Remember. There is salt upon the bread plate, symbolic of the family's tears as they wait. Remember. The glass is inverted. They cannot toast with us this night. Remember. The chair. The chair is empty. They are not here. Remember. All of you who served with them and called them comrades, who depended upon their might and aid, and relied upon them, for surely they have not forsaken you. Remember. Remember. Until the day they come home, remember.
We thank trumpeter Randy Akkerhuis, bagpiper Steve Whittaker, and the members of the Ferris chapter of the Student Veterans of America for their participation in the honored guest ceremony. Will you join me in thanking them? The WCCB will continue now with a beautiful piece entitled An American Elegy. Its composer, Frank Kelly, gives some insightful background about the piece, and he said, and I quote, "An American elegy is above all an expression of hope. It was composed in the memory of those who lost their lives at Columbine High School on April 20th, 1999, and to honor the survivors. It is offered as a tribute to their great strength and courage in the face of terrible tragedy. I hope the work can also serve as a reminder of how fragile and precious life is and how intimately connected we all are as human beings." Now, about the music itself, composer Kelly explains that the first melody came to him in a dream. The second theme suggests a more poignant mood, and that music continues to build to a climactic quotation of the Columbine High School's alma mater. Afterwards, an offstage trumpet is heard, suggesting a celestial voice, a heavenly message. We offer this music today as a tribute to all of our servicemen and women, an expression of hope, a remembrance of those who lost their lives, and an honoring of those who have served and survived to return home to us. And so now, here is Frank Kelly's An American Elegy. Next on our program is a presentation about a very special project involving veterans that was developed right here in Big Rapids. This project is sponsored by the Patch Adams Gesundheit Institute, and it is called Clownvets. Established in 2015, it promotes the healing of suffering American and Canadian war veterans through humanitarian clowning for other traumatized people. Now today we have two brief videos to explain the project. One is an introduction by actor Mike Farrell of the TV series MASH and American Crime Story fame, and the other illustrates the project with images from a recent award-winning film aptly called Clownvets. The film's closing credits acknowledge the collaboration of Williams Auditorium staff Bob Cardena and Kate McGlenn, as well as Dr. Cohen and Ferris State University as an institution for their support in promoting and help in raising funds for production of the movie. Now, after these two video clips, U.S. veteran and pioneer Clownvet Mike O'Connor will give an update on the Clownvets project and the movies that are being made about it. Any other Clownvets in the audience are welcome to join him on stage. So right now, before showing these videos, let's first welcome to the stage Clownvet pioneer and now movie star Mike O'Connor. Mike.
Hello, I'm Mike O'Connor, and I hope you enjoy the film clips we have for you, and after that I'd like to be able to speak to you a little bit about our project. Thank you.
Patch Adams is a man who believes that laughter is medicine, and I believe that Patch Adams is right. What we know from Patch's work is that getting people to clown and getting injured people, hurt people, frightened people, scared people, damaged people to get out of themselves and clown cures the fear and the damage and the injury and the hurt and all those things that have been containing them, constraining them, making them constipated people. Patch found this secret himself. He shares it with other people, and I think most ingeniously, he has found that combat veterans who have come home suffering from what we know of as post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, need a way to get out of themselves, out of their pain, out of their grief, out of their confusion. And one most effective way to do it is through clowning.
In the United States, 6,000 military vets kill themselves every year. The psychiatric profession, the government has no idea what to do.
They came back from war with an enormous amount of trauma.
Absolutely changed. He was a different person.
Just joking around with him, you can't do it anymore.
With the PTSD and TBI comes a lot of things, anxiety, depression.
There's no proper transition after you've killed and seen the things that we've seen.
Your friends died, that's all right. You just go on the next day.
I thought, why don't I take soldiers who are suffering on clown trips?
Me? Go to be a clown? Heck, I couldn't even get my shoes on, it seems like at times.
Why should they go? What do you got to offer?
You will accidentally be in a moment where you are relieving suffering and your heart will melt.
Man, I'm not going to dress up as a clown.
Hey, you guys are looking awesome.
You said you always wanted to travel.
Atlanta, Guatemala, huh?
I'm not someone who's used to going around spreading joy to people.
What would be a fun thing to do? Let's go to Guatemala and be with suffering people. That'd be a hoot.
I was coming to a third world country. I was coming as a clown. The rest was on survival when I got here.
The goal was that their suffering would stop, that they would reconnect with their loving self.
It's a bizarre thing, but I think from that bizarreness comes possibility.
Here's an opportunity to write a new ending to the old story.
Bring in the clown!
I got a nose on. Does that count?
When I put the nose on, I'm a totally different person. Humor can alleviate pain.
Another successful mission, sir.
He has gotten so much better. I'm grateful for the clowning.
It's medicine. It's fundamental human relationship.
Well, as you can see, we made a movie. The original idea with the movie was to use it with those suffering PTSD as veterans. Doesn't matter if they're male, female, what branch of service, as long as it's service-connected and they've been diagnosed with PTSD. I think I was first diagnosed or felt the effects of PTSD back in March 30th of 1969 when I watched a friend I grew up with die in a Michigan rubber plantation. It hurt me terribly. And probably the hardest thing I ever did in my life when I got back was go and talk to his mother. I've known her most of my life. It was very difficult. And so, for the past 50 years, I've dealt with the effects of PTSD. Had some other things too, some war injuries, Agent Orange cancers, several of them that we're dealing with one at a time. But the one that really affected my life for the last 50 years was PTSD. And at some point I got hooked up with the VA in North Chicago and went to their PTSD program. Been through it 3 times. It's a 5-week program. Many veterans have been through it a lot more times than that. And while there, they teach you a lot of tools that you can use in everyday life that helped me a lot. I changed from having to go to Walmart at 3 a.m. in the morning because I couldn't stand crowds. Just about a few things to survive on and stay isolated most of the time. As you can see, I can stand in front of a crowd now and talk to you. It's an amazing change for me. Probably a big change for many veterans who've been through this program with Patch and the North Chicago VA. Patch started this program by contacting the captain level VA, which is at North Chicago, and asked to take some veterans on some clowning trips with him. And we've had 2 so far. I went on the first one. And I can tell you it changed my life a lot. And I could tell from the other veterans that I've worked with, there have been 20 of us so far, that their lives have completely changed too. He gave us another tool. That tool is clowning. Because what happens when you're clowning with sick, injured people, you're helping to relieve their pain, and at the same time, you're doing it for yourself. You forget about all the problems that you had, and it really does wonders for you. I've been married and divorced 3 times. All 3 of those divorces were caused by me and my family not being able to deal with my symptoms of PTSD. Hopefully, most of that's changed now. Had I known these things that I know now, I'm sure my life would have been totally different. It would not have been 100% controlled for 50 years, my PTSD. So what we want to do in this project is take more veterans on these trips, many of them overseas, and many of them in the United States. And what we found with our first 2 groups of veterans is that they've continued on their own. They go to hospitals, they go to VA centers, they go to the bank, the grocery store, whatever. They clown with people all the time. Because they learned a lesson. They learned you put that red nose on, you can do anything you want with people, and they'll normally accept it. I don't mean anything bad, but you can get away with a lot of things. You can get them involved very easily. And it really does good things for their soul and yours too. So, right now the movie is completed. It was originally intended for that movie to be used by the VA and DOD during their PTSD programs all over the United States and the world. The VA is very interested in using this movie. The DOD is kind of dragging their feet a little bit. So what we decided to do is we're going to add on to this movie, make a second one. It's in progress now in Chicago. We'll be adding in a lot of other footage that we have, plus new footage. And we're going to take that movie commercial. You'll be able to see it in theaters, on your TV, wherever. 100% of all the funds that come from this movie go towards taking more veterans on more trips. Nobody makes a dime on it. So we're still in progress with that. Hopefully I'll live long enough to see the end of that project. I've kind of had to slow down now. I've been traveling a lot. But I do want to thank the AMVETS and the American Legion at the post over here across the river, where I'm a member, for letting us do 30 to 40% of the film is right inside that club. Most of the members over there were well aware of us, enjoyed it. There's a bunch of film, maybe any one of you, because we had cameras all over Big Rapids. And you'll see a lot of that footage in this movie. So we're continuing on with that project. We hope for your support and the support of everybody else to continue this. Everything is been by donations now. It costs us $35,000 each trip we take with 10 veterans. So it's a lot of money, plus producing the film costs us over $100,000. And that's cheap for making a film, believe me. But we do need more funds for more trips. We have one more scheduled right now for February, tentatively scheduled for February. We may go in March. Take another 10 veterans, probably mostly from West Michigan area. Could be from Big Rapids here again, Grand Rapids. We have some outlying areas that many of our veterans that went came to. We have one from Canada and a couple from out of state. And so we're looking for your support. If you can, come see me at the end of this program, and gladly accept any donations. And as I said, 100% goes to making these veteran trips happen. Thank you so much for letting me talk to you.
And now the WCCB returns with a light and a cheery song called Bonnie Eloise, Belle of the Mohawk Vale. It was composed and also published here in America just 3 years before the Civil War began by a recent immigrant from England, John Rogers Thomas. Now it quickly became very popular, and it was soon adapted by military bands on both sides of the Civil War. With our performance today of Bonnie Eloise, we note the poignant irony of this very happy tune that became a common and musical thread on both sides of the Civil War, and that war is still the one with the most American casualties ever. And the veterans of that war are a good reminder for us today that regardless of political persuasion, regardless of the circumstances surrounding our military conflicts throughout time, our veterans have always answered the call to serve our country and our citizens to the best of their abilities, and we are eternally grateful to all of them for doing so. And so now here's the WCCB with the delightful pop classic from the 1860s, Bonnie Eloise Belle of the Mohawk Vale. have a very special presentation on behalf of the Quilts of Valor Foundation. The foundation is to cover service members and veterans touched by war with comforting and healing quilts of valor. The foundation had its beginnings in a dream that founder Catherine Roberts had in 2003 while her son Matt was deployed in Iraq. In that dream, she imagined her son embroiled in the horrors of war, draped in a protective and healing quilt. Well, she quickly heeded her vision, and the first Quilt of Valor was awarded in November of that year at Walter Reed Army Medical Center to a young soldier from Minnesota who had lost his leg in Iraq. And since there have been over 200,000 quilts awarded to service members and veterans around the country. Locally, the old jail Quilters of Big Rapids have been awarding Quilts of Valor in our area. And on their behalf, Linda Beulah will make a presentation. Will you please join me in welcoming Linda Beulah?
I have two quilts to present today. Is Elon Howe here? It wasn't sure we had a little miscommunication. Did Elon Howe make it? Yeah, he served the radio and he served in the Air Force during Korea, so we'll be getting together with him and presenting one for him. behalf of the Big Red Quilters. We always sew in a patch, and on the patch it says, "This quilt was made for you out of appreciation, admiration, and respect for your service to our country. With heroes such as yourself, America will continue to be the best in the world. We salute you and hope this quilt brings you comfort and cheer when you need it." Is Russ here today? Russ Niemer?
He's in Arizona.
Oh, he's not here, he's in Arizona. He's from Reed City. He was in the Army. He served in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Bosnia. And he's a member of the Clownvets. So we'll make sure when he gets home that we present that to him. Thank you.
On September 7th, the American Legion was able to have a family fun day to raise funds. We were able to donate not only to Honor Flight $500, but also Quilts of Valor $500 so they can continue their good work. And also we have a plaque made for one of our local artists, Randy Ostrander, in appreciation of your support of local veterans, Big Rapids chapter, Quilts of Valor, from the American Legion for them to hang.
Group leader, it's called in Quilts of Valor for our Big Rapids chapter. We will have our 5th birthday, February 1st. We will be at the old jail celebrating by making more quilts. And most of us are skipping the parade tomorrow because we will be making more quilts. We have a day set up in Nuevo at the quilt shop. This check is amazing. With losing Community Giving Day and not really getting out our cause out to as many people, we have been struggling a bit financially, but this is at least 30 more quilts. And our group has already done over 50, and we're pushing. We did 90 blocks yesterday at the local quilt shop, so we're heading for 200 as soon as we can. There's a table out in the hall if you have someone you would like to request a quilt for, or if you're a veteran and you would like to have one, give us your name and contact information. There's only 20 of us, but we work as hard as fast as we can. And thank you very, very much.
We thank you, Linda, and all of the old jail quilters of Big Rapids for all that you do. Now, this year marks the 50th anniversary of the famous rock musical festival, Woodstock. It was a 4-day festival held in August of 1969, right during the time of the Vietnam War. It was held on a farm near Woodstock, New York, and it featured 32 musical acts that attracted over 400,000 people. Now, the festival is rightly regarded as a pivotal moment in popular music history, and Rolling Stone magazine lists it as number 19 in the 50 moments that changed the history of rock and roll. In 2017, the festival site became listed on the National Register of Historic Places. So now, in recognition of the patriotic service of our Vietnam veterans, we're proud to perform a medley of rock songs called Summer of '69. It includes the following 7 tunes: Purple Haze, Somebody to Love, Sweet Judy, Blue Eyes, with a little help from my friends, Soul Sacrifice, Pinball Wizard, and Proud Mary. Here is the WCCB with the summer of '69. comments and acknowledgments. First, for all of our veterans here today, please know that you are invited to the Ferris' annual and free Veterans Day breakfast tomorrow morning at 7:45 a.m. in room 202 of University Center right here on campus. And if you know any other veterans who are not here, please encourage them to attend as well. And if you are not a veteran, but you would like to attend to thank the veterans for their service, please feel free to join as our guest. Next, we'd like to thank the staff and the student workers here at Williams Auditorium for their assistance in today's complex production. And we'd like to invite you all back here to Williams Auditorium for Ferris's annual Fall Orchestra Concert, which will take place next Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m. After that, please join us for our annual Symphonic Santa Sunday Family Holiday Concert at 4 p.m. on Sunday afternoon, December 8th, which will once again feature Dynamite the Clown and Santa Claus. And last but not least, we would especially like to thank all of the individuals and organizations who have participated in our Veterans Day concert. How about a big round of applause for all of them? And now, Dr. Cohen has a very special presentation to make. Scott.
You guys are troopers out here. This went a lot longer than I thought it was going to go. But thank you all for being here, and special thanks to all our vets and their supporters. We're going to do a couple presentations first. I'm going to introduce Bill Yontz. We've seen him already a couple times tonight. He's going to make a special award here to Rudy Graham. Please welcome Bill Yontz.
Well, as Dr. Cohen said, we've got to be brief because we kind of gone long, so I won't take more than a couple hours. He's back over here going. Today we're here to honor veterans of all branches of service with music, these wonderful folks. In addition to this concert, I would like to briefly tell you about a man that's been part of West Michigan his entire life. Rudolph Rudy Graham, also known as Dynamite the Clown. Rudy was raised in Warren, he graduated from high school. After high school, he joined the Army and went to basic training camp at Atterbury, Indiana. Early in 1953, he was sent to Korea as a 30 caliber machine gun for the 7th Division, 17th Regiment, 3rd Platoon, 3rd Squad. As soon as he arrived in Busan, Korea, he was immediately sent to Pork Chop Hill. It's a piece of country in Korea with no strategic value to either side during the war, but will become one of the bloodiest battles in the United States Army's long history. During that battle, the Allied nations lost 3 men to the Communist forces of 1. In the near future, Congressman Molinar will be presenting Rudy with some medals that he has earned that have been recently designated by the Republic of Korea. Any Korean War veterans, if you have not received a medal for the Republic of Korea after 1999, please see me after. I would like to get your information. We will advertise the date with the Pioneer and the local radio as soon as our congressman gets hold of us. And at this time, Dr. Cohen.
All right, well, we don't have those medals available today. We were hoping that Congressman Molinar would be available. He wasn't today. So those military awards will be presented by him in the near future. But on behalf of Ferris State University, and especially on behalf of our music program here, I'd like to ask Rudy to come up to the stage and get a little certificate of appreciation from us. So you can see on stage, this video says, in recognition of more than 50 years of volunteer service at Saenz Town, at hundreds of events, including parades and concerts that have enriched Ferris University and the entire greater West Central Michigan community. Presented today, the 17th Annual Veterans Day Concert. Thank you so much. We look forward to one more dynamite, at least this fall here for our holiday concert. And congratulations and thank you so much on behalf of so many of us.
All them years of grease paint, red nose, but this was something. I hope you can all, you did a feel good out there? Modern technology. Well, thank you again. Thank you.
And we have one more presentation that the recipient does not know anything about. So I'd like to ask Donna Smith to come out from behind me. So Donna has been the voice of the WCCB, this fine ensemble here for longer than I've been here, for over 25 years. And for over 25 years. Donna's about to retire next month after how many years of Ferris?
About that many.
About that many. So her retired, she's never gotten any kind of compensation besides our unvalued appreciation. So we're presenting her with a similar award here, in recognition of more than 25 years of volunteer service as the voice of the WCCB, and as an announcer and narrator, par excellence for the entire band orchestra program at Ferris University. Congratulations and thank you.
Say thank you to Scott for allowing me this opportunity because it's been just fantastic. And I want to thank all of our musicians for all of their and all the more that have come over the years to bring us such wonderful music. But most of all, I would like to thank you, our audience, for coming and making this concert and every concert that I have done so very special. Thank you.
Okay, back to work.
Back on script, okay. And now we offer as our final musical selection to all of our veterans, coming this time from the legacy of World War I. John Philip Sousa composed the patriotic march, Bullets and Bayonets, right before the end of the war in 1918, and it was published exactly 100 years ago in 1919. To conduct this march, we are delighted to invite the musical Commander-in-Chief of Ferris State University, President David Eisler. President Eisler received his doctorate in music from the University of Michigan, and he can be seen playing the clarinet in the pep band, and he's been guest conductor on nearly every Veterans Day concert since its inception 17 years ago. Now, as we prepare for the final selection, we'd also like to take a moment to thank all of you in the audience for coming today, and we're looking forward to having you back on the campus of Ferris State University very soon. And so now, will you please welcome President Eisler as he leads the WCCB in Sousa's centennial anniversary march, Bullets and Bayonets.